So, for all my liberal friends who are believing the corporate media, this is what's actually going on right now. There's been really incontrovertible and a tsunami of evidence that there was election fraud in Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania for sure. And these are some of the headlines here that really kind of show that that's what's happening here. So, and the mainstream, the corporate media is telling you that the striking down order that just happened in Pennsylvania, where they said they couldn't stop the slowing down of the certification for the votes in Pennsylvania, was a bad thing for Trump. In fact, that pushes it directly to the Supreme Court much more quickly. So, um, yeah, so I mean, this is what's really happening, but you're probably not getting any of this news because you're watching the censored big tech technocracy corporate news, which is terrible, terrible stuff. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I found this alternative news source. This is the Wild West, though. There is total freedom of speech on here, so you're going to find everything. You're going to find, racist stuff and, stuff about all kinds of, darker stuff on here because it is a freedom of speech platform. But you can actually get real information, like all, the Gateway Pundit. That's a very legitimate news source. Um, yeah, there'll be links on here from Natural News and BitChute and just places that aren't being censored by big giant tech corporations. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very concerned that so many of my liberal friends are going to freak out when the election is when the obviously rigged election results in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. I mean, the Dominion voting systems have been rigging elections internationally for uh, decades now. If you watched what happened in the primaries in 2012 with Ron Paul, it was very clear that they were using the Dominion voting systems to rig that election against him. And if you're on the left, you should be just as upset about the way they rigged the election or the primaries against Bernie Sanders, both in 2016 and in 2020. So, I mean, these Dominion election machines and the fact that they're being controlled by backdoors, probably by DNC and RNC operatives, big giant corporate uh, corrupt bureaucrats. I mean, that's just something that we should all be aware of and be upset about right now. I mean, this should not be happening. But it's very clear that the election was not valid, and that there's enough evidence now for us to do something about it. So it seems very unlikely that, quote, President elect Joe Biden is going to become president. There's just too much information now. In that ruling yesterday from the Pennsylvania judge, that judge is actually a Trump guy. I mean, he's somebody Trump put in. So, and for him to block that, if you look at it a different way and think about, okay, well, how could that advantage Trump? Well, it's going to advantage Trump because it's going to send it to the Supreme Court that much quicker. Hopefully, quick enough to block um, the inauguration of Joe Biden by proving how fraudulent this election was. Now, again, I'm not a Trump fan. I've never liked Donald Trump. Even when I was a little kid, I didn't like Donald Trump. But I do think that, there's enough evidence now that Joe Biden is definitely one of the worst possible options we could have. Super corrupt, super beholden to giant monetary interests, including many international foreign monetary interests that are not in the American interests. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this is going to play out. But I just, for my friends and family, you guys just got to know that you're not getting the straight deal. And here's the information. Here it is. There's plenty of information about these elections having been rigged. So I just, uh, you know, we'll see what happens. Now, I don't know. I think that at some point we're going to have, some kind of more extreme measures on the local level. I would like to see counties that where there weren't as many voting anomalies and irregularities and glitches and fraud. Basically, I would like to see some of those counties um, actually secede from the state that they're in. So for those counties to say, yeah, we're not going to stay in the state. There was obvious fraud in, a couple of precincts, I think in Detroit and Michigan. I mean, it was like super blatant. There's a lot of evidence coming out about that now. And so if I was in another county in Michigan, I'd be like, yeah, if the state is going to certify an election when there was obvious fraud, then I want out of the state. And so this county is going to secede from the state and demand paper ballots with some kind of blockchain verification, some kind of real elections. It's if they eliminate real elections, it will eventually turn to violence. There's really no way to get around that. So the fact that we're seeing election fraud now at such a vast scale and it's so obvious, and if not us, then our kids or our grandkids will have to resort to violence because there won't be any way to vote ourselves out of the fascism because they've been rigging the votes. They've been rigging the votes, obviously, for probably for 50 or 60 years, but I mean, definitely ever since the Smartmatic, Diebold, Dominion. I mean, these Dominion voting machines are the old Diebold machines. It's the new generation or whatever, next version, but Diebold was turned into or purchased by Dominion. So, I mean, this is the same thing that we've seen going on the entire time. And we knew about the Diebold fraud, over 20 years ago, and yet we're still using these electronic machines controlled by bad actors and people with a political agenda that don't care about the integrity of our election, but more care about who is elected and how. So, yeah, so don't be surprised if, quote, President-elect Joe Biden is not, in fact, elected. I don't see a way for him to become president without the country basically devolving into some kind of a massive, states seceding, counties seceding from states, civil war, something, more legitimate going, more legitimate and tumultuous change coming. So for those of you who are excited about President-elect Joe Biden, you're basically excited about a civil war because there's no way that, and it's inevitable, whether it happens now or in 10 years or 10 months or 10 weeks, I don't know, but it's inevitable that if they're not counting the votes, it will devolve into chaos. And the evidence shows very clearly now that they were not legitimately counting the votes and that there was fraud in at least 5 states, 5 swing states, which, throws the whole election for the whole country. So, yeah, interested in your feedback, thoughts. I I don't really get a lot of corporate media, so I may not be as hip to the specific brainwashing and programming that they're giving you over there. But I can tell you that you know what I have seen, what little I have seen, has been dramatically inaccurate, and in fact, 100% opposed, diametrically opposed to what's actually going on. So there's that. All right, internet fam. Hope you're having a good day. Bye.